In today's video, I'm going to give you a full rundown of my entire content creation kit that I'm taking overseas. Now, I'm going to pack as light as I can, but there's also a few things that I can't live without having doubles of, just in case I need a backup, and I'll talk you through that in just a moment. But this will cover my cameras, lenses, camera bag, laptop, all that kind of stuff, and why I choose to use what I do, and just how small the entire package is. It might shock you just how I've managed to cram this into a very small bag. Let's get into it. Being the camera nerd that I am, the first thing that I think about is which camera should I bring. Now, I'm not a big fan of taking my most expensive equipment overseas, but I also like the fact I want a camera that ticks all the boxes for that particular shooting scenario. So I'm taking the Panasonic S5 Mark II X. This is my primary sort of run and gun camera. And since the recent firmware update, the IBIS, or electronic image stabilization, that they've put into here is insane. So if I'm doing any handheld video, which I'll be doing a lot of, then this will give me the best results straight out of camera without needing to do any sort of post-production. Secondly, we have matching dual media card slots, which is a no-brainer if you're traveling or shooting anything important where you don't want to lose anything. So I've set this camera up to write to both SD cards all of the time. And then when I get back to the hotel, I can transfer everything to my external hard drive, keep that one card, put another card in, and start the whole process again. So I've always got 2 copies of everything. It's just a quick little trick that I learned, and it works beautifully. Thirdly, this camera has 2 other features I love. So I'm going to be shooting in 6K basically all of the time using OpenGate. This allows me to repurpose the content later for shorts or reels or whatever. This is one of the things that I've just really come to appreciate. I can set up a 16:9 frame for just shooting the content normally, and then later on I can just crop a vertical video out of that. 6K is awesome, man, and I love the fact you get super high quality shorts and reels, all that kind of thing for YouTube and Instagram. So that's really handy. And lastly, this has active cooling. I mean, the image quality speaks for itself, but the fact I can let this run all day or shoot with it in direct sunlight on a hot day means it's going to just continue to work. I don't want to risk overheating, so this is a really great choice. While the S5 Mark II X will be doing all the serious photography and videography, I also like to take a pair of GoPros. This is the GoPro Hero 9 and the GoPro Hero 10. Now, I've stopped buying the new ones because incremental upgrades don't seem to make that much of a difference with these, so I'm just sticking with these two probably for the next few years, unless something revolutionary and reliable comes out from GoPro. But these two have been so good. I've taken these all over the place to different parts of the world, interstate, and I always love incorporating footage from the GoPro in with the actual A-roll of my S5 Mark II X or whichever camera I'm shooting with. I can fit these in the pocket. We can throw them into the water. They're just so versatile. And the field of view is also great. You can either choose to have that super wide field of view or a more conventional linear or narrow field of view, which is how I shoot with these. Pair that with the image stabilization and the fact that these are basically bulletproof. It's pretty cool. These 2 things I can't live without taking. Let's talk about the lenses for the S5 Mark II. So currently I've got this on loan from Panasonic. This is their 18mm f1.8 S Series Prime. I got to review this back when I had the original S5, which was a contrast DFD camera. So I can't wait to see how this performs on the S5 Mark II X with the new phase detect. So this should be pretty interesting. The reason I really want to test this is that 18mm field of view. Once I incorporate it with the E-stabilization feature in the camera, it will crop in a bit, but it will still give me a wide enough field of view and just epic image stabilization. So I can't wait to test this. I haven't tested it yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this can do. The next lens I'm taking with me is the 50mm f1.8 Prime. Now, this is my favorite prime lens for the S series cameras. I bought a few of these back in the day when I had my original S5s. I had a multi-camera setup, and at that particular point in time, you could get one of these for free with the camera body. So I've got a few of these and they're awesome. Every time I use one of these on the channel, someone always says, hey, what lens are you using to shoot this video? It's this one. It gives you a really premium look, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Now, this last lens is the 35mm f1.8. That's right, another prime. And you might be saying, hey, why on earth would you bring this if you're bringing a 50? So it was either a 24 or this, but I feel like the 24 is too close to 18 to bring them both. So I'm bringing the 18, the 35, and the 50. The reason I'm bringing this is if I'm shooting 4K 50 or 60 frames per second, I can then go into APS-C crop mode, and it's giving me that 50mm equivalent, which is pretty cool. So I don't know how often I'll be using this, but if I need to talk to the camera and we're in a hotel, for example, I don't know what kind of lens works best in that situation. I also want something fast. I think I'll just bring this as a backup plan, but whether it gets used, I'm not too sure. I shoot a lot outside on this channel, and one of the things I don't do a lot is maintain the correct shutter speed. I'm more of a fan of just workflow and getting things finished. So I shoot a lot in aperture priority mode. If I'm shooting in Vlog outside on a bright sunny day, it usually gives me some pretty great results. But if the shutter speed's cranking a little too high, I'll be using this guy right here. This is my Earth ND. Now I purchased this off Amazon. It was about 50 bucks when I bought it. So I've had it for a few years now. And it's great, it's variable ND, so if I hold this up, you can probably see, as I turn it, you can see more of me, which means it's letting in more light and then less light the more I turn it this way. Now, while this is a variable ND, I actually leave it all the way wide open, so it's limiting the light the least, which is what I prefer, and this doesn't give me any sort of vignetting or anything like that. So it's a cheap ND, but I think it works pretty well, especially in combination with something like auto white balance. Redundancy is always important anytime you're traveling or doing anything important. So if you don't want to miss the moment, so to speak, then bring stuff that can give you a sense of backup. And that's why I'm bringing the Rode Wireless Go 2 wireless pack. And the reason why is not only are these very reliable in terms of transmission, while they don't have the best battery life in the world, you can still record internally. And this has saved my ass big time, especially when I went to Florida last time. I had no audio on one of my cameras whatsoever, but the transmitter was recording internally. I could sync it up in post, even though it was a bit of a job, but I didn't lose the shoot, so yeah. So this is a big reason why I take the Rode Wireless Go 2 with me. While the Rode Wireless Go 2 will be my primary wireless pack, I always like to bring a backup because the batteries can go flat, things can go wrong, you could lose something, which is why I'm bringing this. This is the Godox MoveLink 2 Mark II, I think it's called. It's got a really strange name, but the reason I'm bringing this is the audio quality is great, they're very reliable, and they're compact and easy to transport. So I'm going to be throwing this in my luggage. And anytime we go out, you know, if I accidentally leave the Rode Wireless Go 2 on and I have no way of charging it, I've got a secondary option that will still sound great. And I'm using the white one right now on my shirt. I know you can't see because it's really well hidden, but yeah, this is exactly the same pack as that you're listening to right now. So yeah, always bring seconds, it helps. Now let's talk about everything else. So I'm gonna bring this. This is my MacBook Air. This is an M1 from a few years back, and this has been so good. You know, if you're coming from the Intel Macs, you go over to the M1, 2 or 3s, they're in a whole other world. And I love this computer because it's a 13-inch one and it fits right in my camera bag. And I'll show you that in just a moment. It's pretty impressive that I can fit all this stuff in a very small backpack, which I'll show you in just a moment. But I edit with Final Cut, so I'll be bringing an external SSD. Now I have a travel SSD drive that I use, it's 1 terabyte, and I can basically put all of my files onto that and start the editing process, finish the editing process, or just organize my files. If you've ever shot a really complex project, file management will save the day. It's easy to do it on the day of filming than to do it a week later or 2 weeks later, whatever the case is. So this will not only get used for editing, but it's also a big part of my file management process. While the speakers on the MacBook are pretty good, they're not great. It's definitely not as good as my 27-inch iMac sitting over here. So I always like to bring some headphones with me just to really monitor the audio in a little bit more detail. And the only good wireless set of headphones I have are these. This is the Beats by Dre. Remember these? I actually got these for free with a prior MacBook Air about 7 years ago. And they're still going strong. I get 10 hours of battery life. And I can also just hook them directly up to the computer via that 3.5mm port. There's an audio cable, it just connects that way. So I don't have to use them wirelessly, which works better when you're working with Final Cut at least anyway. So that's pretty much how I get my audio really well polished when I'm on the road. So having a good set of headphones is how I'm able to get really good quality audio when I'm not editing here at the studio. All right, now we're over to the big reveal. Look at this. That's my camera bag. So that's all I'm taking with me. And for those wondering, this little guy I got from Officeworks, it's the Low Pro Tahoe BP150. So yeah, this is like a $60 camera bag. It looks more like a backpack in my opinion than a camera bag, so I have no problems with it. And I'm gonna show you right now that my laptop is in here. So I can just pull this straight out of this pocket right here. And that is it, and I'm ready to go. So yeah, that's it. And obviously I won't be taking this with me just during the day, so this will be at the hotel, and I'll just have this lightweight bag with me and a couple of GoPros in my pocket, and I'll be sorted. So that's my entire travel rig. I hope you found this video interesting. I want to put one of these together because I've shot overseas and interstate so many times, especially over the last 5 years or so, well, excluding 2020 and 2021, but since before then and after, and essentially I've refined this process to the best of my ability. And while I could probably leave the 35mm at home, I think it's coming with me. Anyway, thanks for watching. My name's Shane. I hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you soon.